This right here, this is how people get radicalized.
They're like, I guess I'll vote for Trump now.
This is how people put on the red hat.
Ruslan.
I saw an article that said they said that fitness is white supremacy.
Oh, sick.
Yo!
Time magazine, dude.
Yo, hey, let me just say this. I said this yesterday. What was the topic we talked about? I'm gonna keep saying this. Guys, hey, media, not that they listen to me. Hey, people that lean left, listen to me. This right here, this is how people get radicalized.
They're like, I guess I'll vote for Trump now.
This is how people put on the red hat. I bet you this is what happened to Kanye.
Oh yeah.
I bet you this happened with Kanye.
I like to exercise.
I like to exercise. Red hat. I'm telling you. This is start the clock. Start the clock. This is how people get radicalized, yo. Y'all gotta stop with this. This is insane. Origins of exercise and other 6 surprising facts about the history of physical fitness. You know what this is? Hold on. Before we go any further, you know what this is? Off rip, you know what this is? This is called a genetic fallacy. Genetic fallacy is always a thing. All right? But I'm telling you, this stuff happens. This is how people go all the way. The genetic fallacy is the act of rejecting or accepting an argument on the basis of its origin than its content. I could give a crap. I give a crap if the Nazis strength trained. I give a crap who strength trained.
The Nazis resistance trained.
You know, if you look at the origins,
they did 10 sets a week.
Yeah. You know,
across all the muscle groups.
If you look at the origins of the bro split,
oh my God.
You know that the bro split actually has its roots in white supremacy and Hitler, right? Like, I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap, right? Because are we talking about the content or its original origin, right? So it says, under the genetic fallacy, we judge a claim by paying too much attention to its source or history, even though this criticism is irrelevant to the truth or the claim.
Oof.
This is how people get radicalized. You guys ready? You guys ready to be? Some of y'all gonna become Republicans after this article, right? Right in real time. You're gonna be like, I guess I am.
DeSantis has never looked better.
Yeah. I guess I'm voting for DeSantis. This is how people get radicalized. Okay, so let's anyway. How did the U.S. exercise trends go from reinforcing whites? This is ridiculous. To celebrating Richard Simmons? Wow, who wrote that sentence? The evolution is explored in the new book by a historian of exercise. Okay, nowadays, the beginning of every new year, many Americans hit the gym to work off their holiday feast. This momentum usually starts to fade in mid-January. You don't say. But such New Year's resolutions are pretty new, as is the concept of exercise as a way to improve bodily health. Bodily health being improved, bodily health being improved by exercise is a modern concept. It's a model. It's a social construct.
Yeah.
You know, weight is a social construct.
Oh, right.
You know, obesity is a social construct.
Oh, wow. Numbers are
a social construct.
Okay.
Did you know math is rooted in white supremacy?
Wow.
Yeah. It's not really now. It's really not until the 1980s that you start to have a consensus that everybody should be doing some form of exercise. You don't say, you know why what happened in the 1980s? People started getting more fat, you idiots.
The internet.
The internet happened. But yeah, people started being more sedentary. The video games exploded. People started getting more, like, sitting down more. Okay, by the 1990s, we got more fat. We keep getting more fat. Why do we get so yes, if we stop hunting and gathering and we stop doing things like going outside, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? People are going to need to counter that. You know, as kids, we did this thing that now we pay to do as adults called playing.
Ha.
You used to play for free. You stop doing that when you get older. And you especially stop doing that when we become a service-based economy. So when you can become a service-based economy, guess what? People are less active because you're not on the coal mines or whatever people did. You're not building the Ford factories, right? Anyway, let's keep going. Cool. Okay. Perfect for reading the treadmill, stationary bike. The below conversation with Melon Pretzels outlines the earliest ideas to exercise, delves into the history of various popular workouts and the outsides of influence. Richard Simmons. I don't know how they're tying in Richard Simmons to white supremacy, but this is a stretch. Your book, Fit Nation, starts out by talking about how fat was something to aspire to and was a sign of wealth and happiness. How did Americans go from a mentality of fat is good to skinny is better? Because fat is not good for you. Just we got like science. Science started
Just like
telling us
science. They're conflating this idea with like social perception and like actual health.
yes.
Are the same. So when we say skinny is better, quote unquote, as it says in this article, we're referring to the science and the actual health.
Yes.
The molecules in your body. When we're looking at fat is good, we're talking on some medieval peasants are eating potatoes and the king is a little chunks, you know, and he's wealthy.
Yeah.
It's a perception thing, not a literal I want to be fat. They're saying I want to have wealth.
Hey, you want to see something kind of crazy? Over 75% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing and turning your bell notification on so that you don't miss anything we have going here. All right? Peace.
Yeah, somebody said exercise for fitness happened in ancient Rome, China, Egypt, West Africa, and more. Well, I mean, of course that. But if they admitted that, they couldn't say this is white supremacy because those places aren't white, except Rome. One of the things I set out to do in my book is to look at the change, just how we think about our bodies and what's considered attractive. Until the 1920 or so, to be would be considered today fat or bigger was actually desirable. You know why it was desirable? Because beauty is oftentimes attached to what is rare. So if something is rare, which being fat was rare in the 1920s,
Yeah.
your eyes are always going to go to what is rare. And so something is rare. So now guess what? Being fat isn't rare. So now because it's not rare, it's not as attractive.
I mean, do people really think fat people were attractive in 1920? 100 years ago, they were like,
I think they were trying to survive.
They were like
the
on
Great
Wall
Depression
Street and we get through the Great Depression and they're like, wow, fat is beautiful.
To be what be considered fat bigger was actually desirable and actually signified affluence. Well, yes, because fat people were rare because not as many people could get fat because they didn't have the same access to highly calorically dense foods, which is the polar opposite of today when so much of the obesity epidemic discourse is connected to socioeconomic inequality, and to be fat is often to be seen as to be poor. Well, because of the stuff that's fed to poor people, because of the stuff that is highly calorically dense, low in nutritional value, easily available in places that have food deserts. You want to go down a conspiracy theory rabbit hole? Look up food deserts. You want to go down a conspiracy theory rabbit hole? Look up how calorically dense our food is, how much process goes into our food, how many preservatives are in our food. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, fat people today tend to be lower on the socioeconomic status.
All I'm hearing this writer say is that the social view of being fat now lines up with the health reality that you have. So they say socioeconomic inequality and to be fat is often to be seen as poor. Yeah, yes, sure, but also to be fat, if it's to be seen as poor, you're also to be seen as in poor health. So if anything, they're just more congruent nowadays.
Yes. How did that happen? Well, in a moment when actually there was a lot of access to caloric foods. I literally just said it. To be fat showed that you could afford these foods that were out of reach for most people. That inverted. Durr. Yo, it's like they're doing the work for me. The article is doing the work. You're doing the debunking for me. You freaking, I don't want to call this guy. I'm sure he means well, but they're literally doing the work for me. To be fat, show that you could afford these things that were out of reach for most people. And today, to be affluent is showing that you can get higher nutrient-dense foods, hire a nutritionist, hire a coach, hire a trainer. Freaking rocket science, man. My good. And you have the time to actually work on your physique. That is something that affluent people can do now. And right? And back then, people naturally worked on their physique because they naturally were more active. Like you weren't out doing manual labor all day as the caloric food became more accessible. And as most people were doing sedentary white-collar work and had access to cars and leisure, somebody who would resist those caloric foods, exercise, and had a thin body was seen as more desirable. My gosh, I'm done. These goobers, they just debunked their own nonsense. You just debunked your own nonsense. Thank you. Thank you for doing all the thinking for me. Thank you for doing all the thinking for me. Now that we have technology, we discover that, hey, carrying excess weight on your joints, on your heart is not good for you. So you shouldn't do it.
At all sizes, or in all ways too. There's these bodybuilders that are
the bodybuilders are, yes,
280 pounds of just muscle,
yes,
and their heart is like you're 280 pounds,
yeah,
and 5'11",
dropping dead at 30.
Yeah.
Dropping dead at 30. That ain't healthy either.
That's not lit.
That ain't, I mean, I think Alex Hermosi came out and said so. Said as much.
Really?
A couple folks came out and was like, it's not healthy for you to be walking around, you know, 5'10", 220, 230 yoked. Like, that's not healthy on your heart either.
Yeah.
You know? Healthy food is expensive, but Aldi's is not. And when I was broke, your boy was on Aldi's. You can go watch my vlog. If you look Ruslan Meal Prep or Ruslan Eat Healthy, I got a vlog of me shopping everything I would buy in Aldi's. I could spend about 30 to, I would say about $40 a week in food. And I would get a gang of chicken breast, a gang of salmon, all of that. So Aldi's, my whole meal plan is on YouTube from 2000 and what year was that? 19?
Yeah.
2019.
I don't know how much of that is like true. You know that like that it's a common claim. It's so much more expensive. I don't know if it's so much more expensive or if it takes so much more work, right? Because unhealthy food that is high caloric and cheap, right?
Yep.
You could probably throw it out of a box, rip out the packet, put the little powder on there, and that joint smacks. Like it just tastes good, right? It's got all the things in it. You didn't have to think. And it was also $1.50. But no one's eating mac and cheese by itself for dinner. Like, you know you're having more things. Like, you know you're going to McDonald's. McDonald's is not cheap. Like, all this whole, like, dollar menu stuff is gone. McDonald's is, like, at least $10. So if we're going to go down the rabbit hole of, like, what can you make for $3 a meal if you're cooking for 4 people, right? Maybe you're cooking for 2 and then you have leftovers, or you're cooking for yourself and you have leftovers for 3 days. That's called meal prep, son. You can cook legit meals for $3 a piece.
Yep.
Cheap. Like,
cheap.
Like, so I don't really know. It takes more effort.
Yeah.
And if you suck at cooking, it doesn't taste as good.
Yeah. Or you can go to the grocery outlet and get it even cheaper than Aldi's.
Yeah.
You know what
Do
I mean?
all of those things.
So there's a lot of options out there. I think to your point, most people need the convenience. Most people don't want to cook or don't know how to cook.
They're conflating, like, a healthy packaged meal is going to be a lot more expensive than an unhealthy packaged meal.
Absolutely.
But we're not comparing packaged meals. If your thing comes in a wrapper, it's probably not good for you in the first place.
Hey, this is a segment from our daily after party stream. Consider partnering with us online for as little as $5 a month to get access to these daily after party streams completely unedited. You'll also get access to our podcast as they are streamed live into the community before anyone else gets to see them, get to interact with our guests, get access to our private Discord server, and a discount code for our store for as little as $5 a month. Ultimately, that will help towards helping us continue contextualizing the gospel using media and podcast here on YouTube. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.